If y'all are subscribed to Seiji Hito, then you are probably already by now familiar with the story that I'm about to bring to you. And this story kind of reminds me of the story that I just recently did about the woman in New Jersey who killed her wife and then fled all the way to Houston, Texas, like within that same time frame. But it's a little bit different than that one. So in this picture, you see two people. On the left, you see someone by the name of Benjamin Austin Page, and on the right, you see someone by the name of what they identify as Terrence Brown. Yes, the person on the right is not a woman. That is a biologically born man who, I'm just based on looking at the picture, decided to live his life as a woman, I'm guessing. Now, there is another picture that is out there where he doesn't have all of this makeup on, and you can actually look at him and clearly tell that that's definitely a guy. But in this one, this picture right here, because I tried to get a side-by-side picture of him, and this one is definitely showing him more made up. Let's put it that way. But anyway, on the left, Benjamin Austin Page killed his lover, who I guess he was trying to keep on the DL, because I'm guessing he must have been on the DL himself, because apparently there was some pictures that Terrence Brown took that he refused to delete. So in order to get back at him, he killed him. And they said that he brutally killed him. Now I'm going to go ahead and read this article. It says a quote-unquote violent thug with a machine gun tattooed on his forehead has been arrested on suspicion of murder after allegedly shooting dead his male lover in a row over sex photos. Deputies responded to a 911 call on the 3000 block of 25th Street Southwest in Lehigh Acres, Florida. Discovered the victim's body laying in his front yard with multiple gunshot wounds. Officers have since arrested Benjamin Austin Page, age 22, on suspicion of second-degree murder. The victim has been named by family members as Terrence Brown. During a press briefing on Wednesday, Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino described Page as a violent thug and an ex-convict. Page had been allegedly communicating with Brown through social media for about a week, and the pair were sexually involved. It is claimed Page became angry over the victim's refusal to delete sexually explicit images between the two. The gunshots were allegedly fired when Brown went to leave his home to meet an acquaintance. Page's mugshot shows a heavily tattooed face and neck, including an angel pointing a machine gun toward his left eye with the word bang exploding out of it. He also has two firearms tattooed on his right cheek and black teardrops under each eye, widely recognized as symbolic of a spell behind bars. Victim Terrence Brown's Facebook page says he was single and a student and studied at Tallahassee Community College, TCC. He was a part-time cosmetology student and self-taught freelance makeup artist, according to his YouTube channel, where he uploaded flamboyant tutorials. Brown had posted a heartfelt tribute to his grandfather and said, "I'm always going to bless and succeed in whatever I do," just days before his murder. Page is no stranger to law enforcement, Marcino said. His arrest comes just 4 months after he was released from a nearly 4-year prison stint in January on weapons charges. He has a string of other arrests in Charlotte County that date back to 2011, including charges of theft, drugs, weapons, and burglary. The 22-year-old also faced drug and loitering charges in April, though those were later dropped. Page will now be transferred to Lee County to face charges of second-degree murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Second-degree murder differs only from first-degree murder in that it is not deemed to be premeditated or planned in advance and carries a prison sentence of life without parole. Interesting. And they said he is also held on a $2 million bond. I'm surprised they even gave him a bond. They probably gave him the bond because they only charged him with second degree. Now, I'm going to say the same thing in here, and I'm going to pretty much echo what Seiji Hito said in his video. And it's something he pointed out too, and I'm going to mention it here. The Academy is awfully quiet about this story. And I think I know why. And something else Seiji Hito did is something I probably wouldn't have thought to do. And he went to Twitter and he typed in, I think he put hashtags in that could lead to the story. And he said nothing came up. He even scrolled through on his screen so we could see it, just so we could know that he wasn't just making anything up. And he's right. Nothing came up about this story from the academy. Nothing came up. Just like you didn't really hear anything about the situation that happened in New Jersey when the woman killed her wife and then fled to Houston. Just like when Ed Buck was making his rounds a couple years ago. According to one of my subscribers at the time, they said you and Tariq were the first two people I heard talk about the Ed Buck situation before more people started to grasp onto it. And even then, it wasn't a hard jump on. Now, what do all three of these stories have in common? They involve the palm-colored individual being the aggressor, being the killer. Ed Buck, let's just be real here, he killed them men. The woman in New Jersey killed her wife who was black, and this guy right here who was clearly palm-colored and definitely deranged killed his lover. Now, had that been a black person who did this, all kinds of homophobics, all kinds of hate crimes would have came up and everything. If that had happened. Even if the person was in a relationship with him, they would have still found a way to do it. But you don't hear a peep from them. You can hear a mouse piss on cotton when it comes to these stories right here. See, they're very selective of who they want to go after when it comes to situations involving that community. They'll sound off when a black person allegedly does them wrong, which when you really dig down deep to it, there is rarely anything. In some cases out there where it will happen, like I remember it was one story where a father, I think they said, killed his son because he found out that he was a part of the G class. Now that I can understand the outrage behind. But when it comes to situations like this, they're very selective and they're very quiet about who to go after. Like they completely tried to bury the Ed Buck stories until he finally got caught up. What was it, last year? Finally. And they're going to bury these stories as well. Like, not many people are talking about this, whether online or in the news. I want y'all to tell me if y'all live in Florida, has this story come across your screen if you watch TV? I'm willing to bet that it didn't. But that pretty much is all I have to say as it pertains to the story. For starters, you can tell that both of these individuals weren't in their right mind. For one, look at this guy with all the tats on his face. Like, come on now. And then the person that was involved with him, the victim, you can tell that they weren't in their right mind either. If this is who they chose to mess with. But you know, here we are.